So today we're going to be doing some Chapter 12 Mendelian genetics questions and how you might see them on a test. So the first question, we're going to start off with something basic with Punnet squares, and then we're going to move further on and see how multiple alleles and multiple different letters work with Punnet squares. So the first question we have here is, what is the probability of a big Y, little y times a homozygous recessive Y producing green seeds? So the little y here is going to be green, and the big Y is going to be yellow. So the first question is really simple. It's going to be a basic Punnet square here. And this is how you're going to format it, right? You're going to have, this is going to be parent 1, and this right here is going to be parent 2. And it doesn't really matter. You can have parent 2 up here, you can have parent 1 over here, but it's going to be this square, almost kind of looks like a tic-tac-toe sort of thing. And so you're just going to match them up. That's all we're doing here. So the dominant will always go first, right? If you have dominant Y, a recessive Y, even this dominant Y is going in front of that recessive Y, no matter how we slice it or dice it. So as you can see, we have one heterozygous dominant, we have a homozygous recessive, another homozygous recessive, and another heterozygous dominant, right? So if someone asks you, well, what are the chances that I'm going to get a homozygous recessive, which would be green? It's going to be, so let's see, we have 2 out of 4, which is just going to simplify to 1/2, and that's going to give you a 50% chance. Now if someone said, well, what are the chances that I'm going to get a heterozygous out of this? Well, let's see, we have 1, 2, same thing, 2 out of 4, 1/2, 50%. So here we have, what is the probability of big R, big Y, little y times a big R, big Y, little y, and that it's going to provide big R, big Y, little y. A lot of letters. So this is what makes it more complicated. We're introducing, now we have the R is going to be for the round and wrinkled seeds, and the Y is still going to be the yellow and green seeds here. But as you can see now, if you try to make a Punnet square of this, I mean, let's see, you're going to have an R, an R, an R, but now what? Where do those Y's go? Right? You're going to have to make this big Punnet square, but I guarantee you there's an easy way of doing this. There's an easy way to break it down and simplify it, and what I always like to do, and I think it makes it easier, is to break things up, take it one step at a time. And for here, one step at a time is just going to be, hey, let's just do the R's first, right? Let's not make this whole Punnet square. Things can get complicated. I mean, if that works for you, we can do that. But the thing here is, if you just take it one letter at a time, it's going to make it easier. So, working out individually, each letter should get its own Punnet square. Now, as you can see, I've made 2 separate Punnet squares for the R and for the Y. Now, you could say, well, you could just make one big Punnet square. You could do that. We could do a lot of things. But we're doing it this way. So it makes it easier. So this is our goal. We want this heterozygous R, and we want this heterozygous Y. And you really want to break this down by percent. So let's see. So this is our goal for this one, right? For the R, we want this heterozygous R. This is the goal. So let's work this out and let's see. So 1, 2 out of 4. So we have 2 out of 4. We have 50%. So there is a 50% chance we're going to get this heterozygous R. So that's it. The R is done. Now let's move to the Y. So now what are we looking for? We're looking for a heterozygous Y. Beautiful. So 1, 2 here. And then this one's homozygous dominant. This one's homozygous recessive. So then that's going to leave us also with a 50% chance. So now you're saying, well, how are we going to figure out what's the chance of getting this whole thing? So where some math comes into play here. So you're going to have 50% here, And you're probably thinking, oh, you know, how do we find out the percentage of that then? Because we only found out the percentage of this and the percentage of that. That's where your math skills would come into play. You're going to have to times 50% times 50%, and you're going to get 25%. So you're going to do 0.5 times 0.5, and that's going to give you 0.25, which is going to be 25% here. And if you have multiple Punnett squares, the same thing is going to go. So same thing goes, right? Let's say they give you RRYY, and now they give you a TT, heterozygous TT. Well, now what I would recommend is you do a whole new set of Punnett squares. And that's going to be really good because now we're breaking it up. It's easier to look at, easier to see. You do one big Punnett square, it's easy to lose track of where you are, where the letters are. It becomes very complicated. So then what you would do, right? Let's say all you want to do is you would do 50% times 50%, and then let's say the TT was another 50% for the heterozygous. You're just going to multiply it by another 50. And that's all you'll have to do when you get multiple alleles or Punnett squares.